Bromance. Why men love their homeboys so much? We're gonna talk about the extreme loyalty and engagement between males today. So studies actually show that men enjoy spending time with their male friends more than their romantic partner. Some male friendships today look like a devoted romantic relationship with heavily invested time and effort and emotional investment, even though we know it's platonic. We see that sometimes close, affectionate, emotionally supported friendships between men today are between two men, and it's not inherently unhealthy. Males spending time with each other, having deep trust and loyalty, and enjoying each other's company and supporting each other through difficult times, sharing hobbies, sports, travel, other interests. It's good for their mental health and it's good for their well-being. Feeling comfortable joking around and talking and even being emotionally vulnerable with each other and one another is not inherently unhealthy. But the problem is when men are invested in their male friendship so much that they start neglecting their romantic partner, the commitments that they made, when they refuse to invest emotionally in their romantic relationship. And it becomes a problem when they prioritize their friends more and more and more, right? And this creates an imbalance where, because they spend so much time with their male friends, they're not developing themselves and they're not having successful romantic relationships, right? So studies show that men are more satisfied emotionally by their close bonds with other males than they are with their wives and their girlfriends, which is true. It's not inherently, it could be a problem when things go too far, right? And most of the time when males meet up, male friendships, when groups of males meet up when they are friends, most of the time it's not positive. And there are negative reasons why men love their homeboys so much, and I'm going to go through some of them. But the main reason that males love their homeboys so much is because there's this lack of deep emotional processing. There's no need to be accountable, and it's low expectations for them. So most of the time when males meet, homeboys get together, it's usually a place to use offensive language against women. It's a place to vent and to complain about women, and complaining and expressing to themselves and each other that they don't want to be accountable, they don't want to be responsible, that they don't want to be reliable, right? It's a place where they share their dark thoughts and secrets about how they really feel about women, and they won't be feeling judged because most of them have the same mindset. So it's a place to be, you could almost say, less manly, and nobody is calling anybody out on destructive behavior. That is why it's so low expectations, and it's like they feel like it's a safe place to talk trash, to be who they really are, to discuss nonsensical topics, and they just feel good to be together, to just remain the same, to be stagnant in life, to just stay in their comfort zone and just continue to have a big ego and have too much pride and be comfortable with their low bottom thoughts and behaviors, right? So it's a breeding ground for just a escape. It's an escape. They love their homeboy so much because it's an escape from their wives. It's an escape from their girlfriends. It's an escape from being with their children because, to be honest, most of them don't really value their wives. They don't value their girlfriends. They don't love or care about their children, right? So that's a place they get, approval for their bad behavior and the lack of character development, and they just joke around about it. That is why they love their homeboys so much. They love spending time with their homeboys because all of them could come together and they don't feel, they avoid feeling guilty and they avoid feeling shame for all the wrongdoings that they have done, especially against women. And they celebrate this because all of them have the same mindset, and that's why they would all stay stagnant, right? And most of them, they're not feeling, they wouldn't feel safe. They normally don't feel safe being emotionally intimate with their romantic partner. So they feel safer with their homeboys when they express their true feelings, with their male friends, without getting real advancement, without getting advice. They want to vent, and complain, right? It's a place, meeting up with their homeboys, a place to be sexist, a place to use disdainful language on their wives and their girlfriends and their children. It's us against them conversation they like to engage in, right? So men, they love meeting up with their homeboys because it's a place where they could just complain without getting any solutions. You could vent and you could rant and there's nobody coming up with a solution to the problem. It's a place to just brag about cheating and being disrespectful to their wives, to their girlfriends, other women, right? It's a place where they could just encourage excessive drinking and using drugs and pressure each other just to engage in reckless behavior, in risky behaviors, and laugh about it and joke about it. It's a place where they could just plot and they plan, or they try to get over on their romantic partner or their wife or something like that, and then they make fun of it, making fun of other men who are actually trying to improve themselves. It's a safe place for them to spread rumors, just engage in heavy gossiping. Men love to gossip, trying to damage other people's reputation. It's a place where they obsess about money, status. They compare themselves to other people. They compare their romantic partners to other people. And they just stay the same. There's no solution to any problem, right? They're just constantly criticizing women, including their girlfriends, their wives, and just, instead of taking responsibility for actions and their thoughts and their limited mindset, they just rant and vent and complain. And they feel good about that, and that gives them pleasure. That is why they love their homeboys so much. That is why they love being around their homeboys so much. Men enjoy all of this because it's an escape of, they're escaping responsibilities. It's shallow. It gives them, hanging out with their homeboys, give them this quick entertainment, and it's just low effort gratification. It's so easy. Men are always looking for the easy way out on things, right? It's a fast way to distract themselves and feel good. It's instant gratification, and they don't realize their character is eroding every time they meet up with their homeboys. And these behaviors that I was just talking about, they gradually weaken discipline, it weaken integrity. You don't have self-respect, you don't develop emotional maturity, and it's self-degrading and just counterproductive, being like this. It's easy, it's primitive, rather than developing wisdom and developing their character, which they can do together, and work on goals and develop themselves. No, they want to complain, rant, laugh, joke around, and use disdainful language against women. So what men should actually be discussing with each other, instead of complaining, instead of venting and not looking for solutions, and just having these bad talking about women in this disrespectful way. They should be discussing like their work and business, getting ideas to be more productive, to make more money, or they could be talking about sports or their hobbies. They talk about fitness, they're talking about being healthy, having a healthy lifestyle. They should be talking about being accountable and being a better man, and learning about emotional maturity and the family dynamics, and learning how to share different ideas of being a better father and ways to becoming a better romantic partner, being a better parent, to share, or they share different personal goals, share different ways to be better, to start to do things to improve themselves. They should be offering good advice about women, offering good advice, trying to figure out better ways to deal with their marriage, their romantic relationships, their children, instead of escaping them, right? They should meet up together and just encourage each other to be better people. Walk on your big ego, walk on having too much pride, encourage each other to be responsible, to be respectful, to have integrity, and to grow emotionally, instead of all these negative behaviors they often demonstrate when they meet up with their homeboys. So they should stop reinforcing negativity, being dishonest, and harmful behaviors they have towards their wives, girlfriend, children, right? And as a result of this extreme loyalty to their homeboys and this constant engagement with their homeboys and engaging in all of these destructive behaviors, what could happen is that women could start to lose interest in men. Women could start to lose interest in dating and being in a romantic relationship, and they lose interest in marriage. The women could just start to lose interest in having a family with a man due to the neglect and always putting their homeboys first before anything, right? So women could just lose interest in that. They could have relationship problems. Women could leave them just because of neglect and being loyal and always being around, always being with their homeboys. Next thing, their relationship could just be problematic, when you're with your homeboys and everybody normalizing disrespect and everybody normalizing cheating and avoiding commitment. They reduce the trust of the woman, The woman would not really trust the man that much. And then that decreases the desire for women wanting to be intimate with men. So healthy women value integrity, they value accountability, they value emotional intelligence, and lacking those qualities can really close the door for like a healthy romantic relationship, And the problem is with this extreme loyalty and constant engagement with other destructive males, men will just stay emotionally immature, become more and more incapable of communicating. They will not be capable of resolving conflict because they're constantly engaging in destructive behaviors, right? So their growth will be stunted. No personal growth. If they keep meeting with their homeboys and they just gossiping and they're tearing other people down, that could like replace the time that they could be spending time together building skills and improving their health and pursuing meaningful goals and improving themselves, self-improvement, right? These are the things that are happening to these men, right? Their reputation could get damaged because people will begin to see that they're hanging around these types of males and they are dishonest and they are disrespectful and they are untrustworthy and they are difficult to work with. They are irresponsible and most of them are unreliable because that's the type of men you hang out with. So you're obviously going to become just like them. You become more like the company you keep. And that could ruin your reputation, right? So, and I'm not saying there aren't any male friendships that are not supportive in a positive way, or male friendships that don't encourage responsibility. But most of the time when men meet up with their homeboys, it's not positive, right? And I'm not saying men can't meet and enjoy themselves and do hobbies together. That is healthy. Men should meet up and play sports and watch sports and play video games or whatever males do, play dominoes, go for drinks, they walk on their cars, they go on road trips, they go out randomly, whatever they're doing. They could support each other through difficulty. That's not wrong. Those activities are beneficial and healthy, but it depends on how the group interacts. It depends on how these homeboys are interacting. Is it a positive way or is it negative? And I'm not saying you can't laugh and joke around and whatever. It's like, okay, where are the values? What are the attitudes do you have? What are the type of behaviors are these men reinforcing while meeting up? How often do you meet up? How long, the length of time or the hours that you're spending with your homeboys? You might need to just, reflect on that. It could be affecting other relationships negatively in your life. So there are many groups of men that meet up and they constantly gossip and they reinforce disrespectful behaviors towards women especially, and they all encourage each other to just be irresponsible and engage in destructive behaviors, and that hinder their emotional maturity and it damage their romantic relationships, right? This limits hanging out with homeboys constantly for long hours, for many days, especially when it's negative. It limits personal growth and emotional maturity. In contrast with men who challenge each other to develop integrity and discipline, they challenge each other to develop emotional intelligence and accountability, and develop respect. They will become better leaders. They will become better romantic partners, better fathers, better husbands, better friends, and it will be more valuable. They will be more valuable towards society, right? So the company a man keeps and the conversation he chooses to participate in with his homeboys can either fuel his growth or it could just contribute to his decline and stagnation. So those are reasons why men love their homeboys so much. So see you in the next video, and like the video and subscribe.